Hey YouTube, it's your boy Anime Princess, and today we're going to go over a few different crafting methods for the CI Spark Trickster. Let's just jump right into this video. First off, we're going to be going over the body armor, which is high evasion, high energy shield body armor. This is pretty easy to craft with dense fossils. We want to have high energy shield because we are CI based, and we do want to have high evasion as well. First off, because we are evasion character, and it's a little bit more important specifically on CI Trickster because we are using Escape Artist on our Ascendancy, which gives us +1 to maximum energy shield per 6 evasion rating on the equipped body armor. So when you start getting into the 2000s, that ends up being a lot of extra energy shield there. So what's this? 2,200 divided by 6. Like an extra 366 energy shield just from that evasion. All right, so how are we going to do this? First off, let's talk about the base. We clearly want an evasion energy shield hybrid. Status Garb gives us the best numbers. It gives us a lot of base energy shield while also having a high amount of evasion rating. If you can't find a good fracture on a Status Garb, other options are Carnal Armor, which has significantly worse evasion rating, or Blood Raiment, which has a little bit worse energy shield, but actually similar evasion rating. So these would be like your number 2 options. Try and get a Status Garb though, it should be accessible enough. As for the fracture, we are going to want to have a fracture on this, on the suffixes, because the prefixes are pretty easy to craft by ourselves. As for the suffixes, I think Spell Suppression is a really good fracture. Now, if you're aiming, well, first of all, you probably won't be able to get T1 because that's eye level 86. And the thing is, most things in maps drop eye level 85 or lower. So we're going to want to just probably settle for an eye level 85 Status Garb. Technically speaking, to get a perfect T1 roll, you do need 86. However, I just settled for eye level 84 T2 roll. Technically speaking, I think this percentage isn't even as important as the flat, so it's okay to settle for a T2 roll here and just go for eye level 85. Technically speaking, eye level 84 is fine. So you need eye level 84 or higher. If the spell suppression is too expensive, even at T2, you could go for T3. Another good option for a fracture is intelligence, because intelligence translates directly into energy shield and it translates pretty well. So if you can get a high intelligence fracture, that would be superb. And I suppose I should also mention the extreme luxury fracture. And this is if you're just rolling in divine orbs and you want to make a really, really, really expensive body armor. What you would do is you would go for, so you can use faceted fossils to roll +1 to level of socketed intelligence gems, which is a suffix. And then you would need to fracture that yourself. So you would want to annul it down to 4 mods. And an easy way to get that down to 4 is by just splitting the body armor. And then you can, whichever half has the +1 level of socket intelligence gems, just regal it, exalt, etc. until you have 4 mods on there. And then use your fracturing orb. But that's a 1 in 4 chance. Fracturing orbs are really expensive. So I'm just mentioning this here to be, fully transparent. This is not what I did. That's way too expensive for my blood. All right, so for rolling the prefixes, we're going to want to use dense fossils. And you really only actually have to hit the percentage increased evasion energy shield, which, 92 to 100%, as well as the flat hybrid, which is 375 evasion rating with 80 max energy shield. And this takes roughly 56 different dense fossils in a single resonator. And I guess I should mention, before you start slamming those 56 resonators in there, you do want a quality at first. So grab a few perfect fossils. I managed to hit mine up to 30%, but these are pretty expensive. You know, as long as it's above 20%, every little bit of quality will increase your evasion rating and energy shield by a little bit. So yeah, make sure you fix that quality. Then you start slamming on the dense fossils. For my body armor, we hit full prefixes, which is the hybrid evasion rating energy shield. That's mandatory. We hit the hybrid percentage evasion rating energy shield, also mandatory. And that one's only going to be T2 for most of us because we're using eye level below 86. The third one I hit was T1. This is like triple hybrid. It's hybrid evasion energy shield percentage and also hybrid with stun and block recovery. This one's not important. In fact, technically speaking, this probably would be more defensive if you bench craft on for the third prefix fizz taken as fire and fizz taken as lightning, because when a hit does go through our energy shield, we want to have that fizz mitigation. So you should probably aim for this, but if you do end up getting, you know, like triple perfect energy shield evasion hybrids, that does look pretty cool. So, you know, I just went with this. And the upside of doing it this way is you get to craft on the suffixes, because the suffix is where the cost really you really inflict the cost, which we'll cover in a second. So yeah, it is pretty cheap to just hit these two good prefixes. If you want to hit as well this one, you see it's quite a bit more tries, and it's not even necessarily better. But yeah, those are the two options. I would go with this one. As for fixing the suffixes, it's going to be the same method whether we are opting to craft on a third prefix or whether we ended up hitting three prefixes we like and we want to craft on a suffix to end the craft. And the way we do this is we want to make it the blue ichor dominant. So if you already have ichors on it, you just want to put the lesser Eldritch Ember on, and then a blue ichor that's higher tier, so like a greater or higher. And that's going to make sure all the Eldritch currency can only target suffixes. And we're going to want to use Eldritch Exalted Orbs to slam on something good while blocking something by crafting a suffix. And in order to do that, we want to look at the weightings of the suffixes. Regenerate life per second is going to be by far the thing we hit the most when we are Eldritch Exalting. Unfortunately, we can't even block this because regenerate life per second is not a bench craft as far as I know. So we're just going to have to live with some failures there. As for what you do want to block, if you're not looking for dex, you could block dex. It's a pretty high weighting. I think what we're trying to hit is either high intelligence or high spell suppress. Those are both really good. That's, you know, we're trying to get a fracture. So whichever one you don't have fractured, maybe try and hit that. And slightly below that would be any of the Ellie resists, because we are quite starved for resist. My body armor, my suffixes aren't perfect. I have T3 cold resist, and then I crafted on some intelligence and some strength to fix my attributes. So let's just pretend this has perfect prefixes. What I would do here is scour off that last suffix. And now we craft on to block. I don't need dex, so we're going to block dex. And now we are going to Exalt Slam. Shit, this actually hit really good. This hit T1 int. So this would be really pog. And since this one, let's assume we're going to craft on the fizz as extra at the end. We craft this one on. We would remove the block, like this 19 a dex. We're going to remove that. And then you would Exalt Slam one more time and just pray it hits anything like remotely good. Let's see. Oh, look, T2 lightning res. This is actually insane suffixes right here. These suffixes are better than my actual body armor. Holy shit. It's sad this is just on some useless prefix one. But yeah, for here, this is crazy. And then you just craft on the fizz as extra and the prefix and call it a day. And if you did have the triple prefixes, after that first slam of 55 int, you would just craft on whatever you wanted, probably. Don't read too much into these implicits. They can just be whatever you want. I'm personally going for a reduced reflect damage taken because you pair that with Yugal, you reflect immune. I like to just do as many map mods as possible. A crit multi, I don't know if that's best in slot. It just rolls something decent on there. You can, be that stuff's flexible. This is how you do the prefixes and suffixes, which is the important part. All right, hope you enjoyed this crafting guide. Tomorrow, I expect to have a video out going over these DPS gloves as well as the helmet. And then we're going to wrap things up with a third video in the series going over how to craft ailment immunity boots. Hope you enjoyed this video. Catch you live on Twitch. Peace out.